I'm Africa Harrigan for Legit TV. The Committee on Culture, Historic Preservation, Youth and Recreation held a meeting at the Capitol building and approved a measure that would create a sports resort and training facility for athletes in the territory. Let's talk about Bill number 30-0377, transferring the Massac Nursing Home to the Department of Sports, Parks and Recreation to be used as a sports facility, a training center, and also a boxing gymnasium. Can you go into more details about that bill?
Most certainly. Today we had testimony from the various stakeholders as it relates to this particular bill. 1 year ago, I had the opportunity to engage the Boxing Association. As you know, in the St. Thomas district, it's headed by champion Julian Jackson and Mr. Tony Rosario and others. And they have been working with our young people, especially our young black males, for over the years, and have mentored, have fathered, have been from one facility to the next. They're presently in the Oswald. The Pearson Garden facility is totally inadequate, and they were looking for a facility that would accommodate world-class athletes to come to the territory for training and likewise for engagement with our young people. I looked at the possibilities of what properties that would be in their best interest, as they also looked. And then I introduced this bill for a possible home for the facility. Just this week, we learned that there were other two entities that were interested. And then we have the University of the Virgin Islands, U.S.V.I. Entity for the disabled. And Dr. Haptis passed when we were looking at the facility and said that they had been also engaged with the executive branch to look at the facility for those with physical disabilities. In addition to that, I learned that a community development block grant had been applied for by the Methodist Church for a facility for a 14-bed facility for males, boys. So given the fact that I had put this in a year, given the crisis of our young black males in the society, I decided to at least have the engagement, and I tried my best to bring all those entities to the table today, to the meeting, to the hearing. And with the testimony that was provided today, a compelling testimony, I decided to move forward and have the bill passed to rules. And my colleagues felt that in wisdom, given all the dynamics, and that this building has been sitting over 7 years since its purchase, a $2 million property that was once the residence of Mr. Newton, used as a nursing home. When that was phased out, it's been sitting, and proposal after proposal, and the fact that the facility was in such deplorable condition in terms of how we keep our government properties, and that these young men and the success stories that were given to us today, that it was best in the best interest of our young men in crisis to move forward with the bill, and so we did. So it goes to rules, and I will continue to engage and address the concerns of those with disabilities, and likewise the youth, and I believe that when our parties come together, that we will find that we can all live with the bill as proposed to deal with our youth and our athletes in the territory.
One of the major issues with the Massac Nursing Home is funding. It will cost approximately over $1 million just to renovate and to do repairs. How long do you think this process will take before we can get this building up and running?
I don't think it takes $1 million to get it. In fact, the building, you can, if you look at sections of it, it's a reinforced concrete building. It's built by Mr. Newton. It requires work, but it doesn't require $1 million. If you see the facility that our young people are using in the Pearson Garden right now, and you look at this facility and go through floors, various levels, because it's 2 levels, 2 stories, and it also has external units. It has a swimming pool, it has a cottage, it has parking, It has all of the amenities as for a resort, a sports tourism resort for athletes and trainers to come and to engage our young people in preventative measures, because it also will address other athletes in other areas, because presently the organization deals with those in other sports that come to the facility for discipline and training and mentorship. So I think when the community comes together and rallies behind this, and that we can use the services of contractors and electricians and plumbers and our Brothers Workshop, another group of young men who were in crisis and are now taking a turn in their lives to use their hands in terms of the professional trade crafts, that we have a winner. And I think that we give a lot of lip service and we use funding as a major issue to many of our challenges. But I think if the community comes together on this particular issue, that we will in fact be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And that is to be creative, given our political issues, especially as it relates to funding, and that we would address the crisis of our youth by providing a safe haven for them to flourish and to be productive citizens of this territory.
Now, if the community comes together, do you think that it will take 10 years, 5 years, and maybe even 2 years just to get the building up and running?
It cannot take 10 years. It has to be done within the next 12-month period in terms of making that transition. And if you visited the facility, I think you would recognize that you could move into a portion of it tomorrow. It just requires for all parties to get together. And presently where they are to where this particular facility is, and how in fact it was a nursing home, and it was converted, and that there are segments of or portions of the property that are habitable and in order, and it does not require a whole lot of renovations. $2 million property when we bought it, just sitting there. And it's time now for action. And if our youth are going to be our number one in reference to us addressing their concerns, especially youth violence here in the territory, then we owe it to ourselves and to this community to do what's necessary. And that is my way of bringing to this body, and with the support of my colleagues who all agreed that it's time for action.
Thank you for tuning in to Legit's coverage on the Committee on Culture, Historic Preservation, Youth, and Recreation. You can follow the happenings of the legislature and subscribe to us on YouTube at LegVI1. Follow us on Twitter at LegislatureVI. And also like us on Facebook at 30th Legislature. I'm Africah Harrigan for Legit TV.